What's going on, guys, and welcome to a new video I'm doing where I'll be talking about Bloodborne, a game made exclusively for the PlayStation 4. Now, at the time of making this video, this game is 3 years old, but it's recently popped up on everyone's radar again because this is one of the games that's released in the March 2018 PlayStation Plus games. This along with Ratchet and Clank. So that's two games that you get in March on PlayStation Plus, absolutely free. Well, not absolutely free, you got to subscribe to PlayStation Plus, obviously, but in my opinion, it's definitely worth the money. And both of these games are made exclusively for PlayStation 4, so this game has popped up on everyone's radar again. There was even a sort of Bloodborne community page on Facebook and Twitter, you know, all these veteran players who maybe haven't played this game in a while, and they were all getting together and talking about how they would come back into this game purely because it's going to be out on PlayStation Plus. There's going to be a bunch of players who are going to download it and give it a go who perhaps have never tried it again, and it's a great way for players to get back into this world because this game, just like Dark Souls, this game was made by the same people who made Dark Souls, by the way. It's all about community. You know, you don't just play on your own. It is a single player game, but it's very community based. You can leave messages for other players. You can invade other players' games. So it's very much the same as Dark Souls. Speaking of Dark Souls, this game does have a lot of similarities with those games, but they also have a lot of differences. So if you're a Dark Souls expert out there who's played 1, 2, and 3, and you know, you've mastered it, and you think, oh yeah, I can just jump into Bloodborne and it's going to be easy, you're going to be in for a shock. There are a lot of similarities, but there's also so many differences, and I'm going to try and walk you through some of those differences now. So, one of the first things I noticed is that this game is definitely a lot more faster paced than Dark Souls. There's no real defensive options in this game. There's no block button, for example. So really your only line of defense is a sort of dodge move if you're locked in like that, or if you're not locked on, you roll away. But you know, if things get too hairy, you can't just raise your shield like you can in Dark Souls. It definitely encourages you to go on the offensive. Particularly with your health, and I'll get into more about that later on. One of the things that I noticed is that there does seem to be a lot more enemies in this game. I don't know whether that's just me, but I don't think it is. I think there are more enemies, which again goes back to what I was saying about how you have to be a lot more aggressive in this game. So anyway, back to the health. You'll notice that when you get hit, your health goes down, but it sort of leaves an orange bar ahead. This means that while that orange bar is there, if you get a few hits in with your enemy, you can raise your health up to where the orange bar hits. So what that basically means is that if an enemy hits you, you have a chance of getting some health back by hitting them, which again goes back to this game encourages you to be more aggressive. It encourages you to get in there and get the hits in, as opposed to, you know, perhaps staying back and, you know, being defensive and using a shield or whatever, like in Dark Souls. So it's very different. You know, you can't really afford to stay back in this game. You really got to get right into it. Another big difference is the way you recover health in this game other than hitting your enemies. In the Dark Souls games, you had your Estus flask, and that had so many sips in, and if you run out, you could refill it if you sat down at a bonfire. This game's different. This game doesn't have a flask. Instead, this game has sort of health items called blood vials, and you can carry a maximum of 20. But the problem is, when you heal at a lamp, it's not a bonfire in this game, it's a lamp, they don't refill. So if you go down to, say, you know, for example, 1 blood vial, if you heal at a lamp, they won't refill up to 20. No, you're stuck with 1. And you can buy these from the store. When I say store, I mean the shop in the game, not the PlayStation Store. Or sometimes that can be randomly dropped from enemies, so that's how you fill them up. So you can't really afford to, oh, I'm running low on flasks, I better get back to a bonfire to top up. No, you can't really do that. If you're running low on blood vials, you just gotta find more. It's as simple as that. So this is the very first boss of the game, the Cleric Beast, and I wasn't really being as aggressive as what I would have liked in this game. You'll notice every time he hits me, again, same thing as what I was saying before, you get that orange bar. I probably wasn't taking advantage of that as much as I probably should have. Instead, I just kept using my blood vials. But, yeah, it wasn't too hard. One thing I noticed is that it's definitely better to be up close to this guy. Because if you go too far away, he sort of dives on you, and that's a lot harder to dodge than his moves where you're up close. There's a diving move right here. It's a lot harder to dodge because you can't really see where he's going to land. So really, I suppose the same rules apply to this first boss that applied to the first boss in Dark Souls 3, and that is stay close to him and stick to his rear, and you'll have no problem. Pretty much the exact same strategy that the Dark Souls 3 first boss had. So, the weapons that you have in this game, I'm using a saw cleaver at the moment, and the weapons have two forms to them. There's the first form, which is one I'm using right now. It's sort of a fast, but not that powerful. Really designed so you can get a lot of hits in as opposed to powerful hits. Or if you press L1 on the controller, you can switch to the weapon's secondary form, and this sort of extends it and makes it more powerful and has better reach, but at the same time it's slower, and it takes more stamina to swing it. I used the second form a little bit earlier on in this fight, but it was just too slow compared to how fast this guy was, so I decided to switch back to my first form. So, another thing that this game has in common with Dark Souls is that it really encourages you to explore the world, because the worlds, they sort of have different pathways and alternate ways, and it really rewards you for exploring. So, for example, if you explore off the beaten path, you could come across a shortcut that takes you to a lantern, or you could find some better items or weapons. This armor that I'm wearing right now, I got this armor by exploring. Because when you first start the game, you don't have any armor. So, I think it's definitely a good thing that I found this armor, because otherwise I probably would have had a tougher time beating that boss. So, yeah, like I said, it definitely rewards you for exploring, just like Dark Souls. And here are the lamps. This is the equivalent to the bonfires that Dark Souls have, I suppose. And you can use these lamps to go back to the Hunter's Dream, which is sort of like the safe area of the game. It's sort of like what the Firelink Shrine was in Dark Souls 3, I suppose. And this woman here is who you talk to if you want to upgrade your character. Very similar to Dark Souls, but I suppose that isn't a bad thing. It's made by the exact same people, and Dark Souls is incredibly popular, so why wouldn't they use that as inspiration, right? And you can use all the souls that you've gained. Well, they're not souls, they're sort of blood orbs, droplets, whatever you want to call them, the enemies leave. And you can use them to upgrade your character. Pretty much all the standard things that Dark Souls have, your strength, how much health you have, how much stamina you have, and so on and so on. So far, so similar. But, yeah, like I said, this game has been released on the PlayStation Plus for March 2018. It's absolutely free, so I would strongly recommend giving it a go. If you are subscribed to PlayStation Plus, you can download it absolutely free, so why not give it a go? It may not be for you, but there's no harm in giving it a go. So, I'm going to end the video now, guys, and maybe I'll bring it back if I get a little further in the game, and I'll see you guys next time.